All right, welcome everyone to the Veteran Psychedelic Discourse. We are a group that advocates for safe and responsible exploration of mental health treatments, and this is not a platform for the solicitation of illegal substances. Today, we have a guest, Brian Kleindienst from Doors to Delic Minds. Brian's a certified psychedelic integration coach, third wave, advises flow and integrative ketamine clinic, and supports veterans through Waves of Valor. A consultant for wellness centers, Brian is also certified MBSR and MBCT. His passion for personal growth, ignited by plant medicine in 2018, fuels his mission to guide others towards self-discovery and transformation. Welcome, and thank you for joining us, Brian.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So there's a couple of things that we did want to talk about. Some of them, especially the VR and how that comes into play with therapy. But would you mind giving us a brief overview of how you got to this point and getting into this work in the first place?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, it was quite a journey, like anything in life. I had I'd been spending 20 plus years kind of pushing my body as a triathlete and a senior consultant in the medical health space, and was always in a place where I was kind of checking the boxes and doing all the things I thought I should be doing, but it wasn't of purpose, and like anything, I had a profound shift that, hey, I gotta work in healing myself. Before all this, I was a teacher, and I wanted to give back in some shape, way, or form. So I, like all of us, stripped myself down to the bare bones and went through a very big mindful journey using psychedelics, cap therapy, along with psychotherapy, and then kind of found my space and place, and then realized, all right, here's a purpose for me, and then I kind of honed that in even more so and started working with veterans and first responders. My father was a Vietnam vet and a firefighter, so I grew up in that community, and also had recognized some of the struggles that they had gone through as well, and so I really indoctrinated in myself in becoming a psychedelic integration coach, and went back to school, if you will, and learning about more of the plant medicines, and but incorporating a lot of different healing modalities, from acupuncture and breath work, movement, surf therapy, meditation, holistic health, diet. So yeah, it was a whole kind of reshaping of where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. So that's kind of how I got to this place now in 2024. But it's been 6 years of really being in it, but I think it started 10 years ago, 15 years ago, of like, what's going on? I need to change it. So that's where I'm at.
So when you get to Doors to Delic Minds, what's the primary focus there? Is it all VR? What's the
so that's just
forms of treatment?
Yeah. So Doors to Delic Minds is my coaching business, if you will. And then I was recognizing, and how I got into the VR side was, I've done a lot also from the legislative side, or the language side of where psychedelics are in today's world, right? And we still got a long ways to go. And I had joined Treat California, which was a $5 billion initiative here in it was a California bond that we wanted to put on the ballot about optimizing psychedelics, but with research, development, efficacy, access, right, safety. And in that space, I got to really touch upon a lot of veterans and first responders, where we were recognizing, hey, these alternative medicines is a good place. Long story short, with that, it got shut down, like a lot of these initiatives. But what I recognized was, it wasn't so much that we needed to push the psychedelics through, as I believe we do, but it was the communication that we were having about what alternative medicines could, and therapies that we could start talking about and getting, these groups to utilize more, right? And so then I found this VR therapy as a good place to kind of help these spaces talk about it, in safety, right? So VR therapy was like an adjunct to, hey, potentially getting veterans, first responders, anyone to kind of step over and seek help for their mental health and wellness. And so then I got in touch with FireflyVR, and that's who I'm consulting with right now. And they recognize the same thing, that we've got to have a starting place to get people to want to feel safe about getting help, right? In mental health. That's always been the hardest hurdle. And the VR side is real parallel to psychedelics, in a place that it's anything that's experiential, right? It has the capacity to create change. And so the same with VR, it has the ability to enhance these neuroplastic engagements, right? And so then I was like, okay, let's jump into this therapy and this technology, and utilize it in a place to get, like I said earlier, the veterans and first responders to jump into healing. And so that's kind of how the history of how I got into the VR space was, looking at it as a place to start opening them up in a non threatening way, to seek help, be vulnerable. And the VR therapy has that, or the VR technology has that. So that's how I got into it. And there's more to it, but that was the long-winded answer.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind when I hear someone talking about like a VR therapy and with psychedelics, psychedelics make the first thing that comes to mind is the set and setting.
Right.
So with the VR, it's kind of like you're taking control of that setting.
Yeah, exactly. So VR, enables us to relax and become transported into a non-distracting, calming place, right? So it's shown this immersive meta place, right? Which kind of mimics our subconscious, right? And a place that is scary for some of us, where we've they haven't stepped into that side, and that's okay. But this is a very non-distracting place in moving the needle in terms of what comes up visually, right? And in this modality, or in this technology or platform, there's underpinnings that are built within the tech about mindfulness, breath work, CBT and DBT, dialectical behavior and cognitive behavioral, psychological underpinnings, right? So it's giving them a place of safety, like you said, a set and setting. It's setting them up to be successful, because there's no one on the other side, like a therapist or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife, who's judging you. And that's been a big thing, right? It's like, I don't know if I want to go to therapy. I don't know if I need help, because someone's going to be judging me, per se. That isn't the case with the VR technology. You're in there creating, in a space that is that kind of lets you be free, right? Be curious. And that's a big part of psychedelics, right?
Yes. So you're not actually interacting with another person that you're seeing like across from you in the VR environment. It's all kind of integrated into the whole experience as a whole.
Exactly. So there's, modules built into it, there's what we call the overlook. When you first enter in, it's basically, it brings structure and guidance. It's like, okay, here's what we're going to potentially tackle today, or what we potentially want to look at in working on, during your session in the VR goggles or headset. Then there's the fireplace, and that's what we call the sanctuary. It's a whole module kind of broken up, right? And then the sanctuary provides this transformative place where you're actually doing stuff, where you're directed to do things, with the paddles, in participating in experiential practices, right? So there's kinesthetic modalities built into it, right? Yeah, so it's like, for instance, there's a component or an exercise in there called letting go, right? And letting go is letting go of some of those, fear, guilt, shame, anger, whatever it is, right? But you're physically doing it. You're physically grabbing that emotion and throwing it in the fire, right? And then it's talking to you about what that potentially means for you, right? It's open, but it's calming, and you're actually doing, right? And as first responders and veterans, and no pun intended, you're used to running into the fire, right? Like that's where you're going. You want to be actively involved, and that's the beauty of VR is there's activity going on, you know, and doing and being and learning, right? With a uh, a place that is, like I said, non-judgmental. There are no micro tells, right, from the other person that you're looking at. It's not like, I said something, and you can see that twinge and this uncomfortability. They're totally in a space of safety.
It seems like you would get kind of a similar processing as one might get from in isolation, maybe journaling through something, and the whole
Totally.
yeah, just not having someone to like you said, like maybe if they're insecure in the first place, kind of being reluctant to kind of open up about something in particular, there's no one else there. um and also I like that idea of being able to take something and like toss it into the fire. I imagine there is something to gain from like those visual aids of just like
Yes.
having it, being surrounded by it. So that sounds like it would kind of open up a level of accessibility for someone who's maybe like in the city or in a at a college in a dorm where there's not necessarily a fire they could write something out and toss
Right.
it away.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And that's the beauty of VR, is that from the healthcare space or wellness space, there's access, right? So, and hopefully there's more of it as we come. Obviously, this is an expensive technology, but the grand scheme of it is, yeah, we can give it to a whole lot of people, right? And get that specific experience.
I think having tried to use the VR equipment you've got, one of the things that really stood out to me is you actually have to learn how to interact with the environment.
Mm,
And so I think that unconsciously that kind of does something to your amygdala that's kind of queued up and kind
yeah,
of believes it understands what's going to happen. But when you're just trying to learn how to pick something up in a virtual environment and you're not worried about some kind of imaginary stressor because you're just
mhm,
trying to figure out how to do basic interactions in this disassociative environment, I think it really does. This is just my theory, but I think it does
yeah,
something to kind of confuse the amygdala and kind of like cause it to calm down a little bit and rethink things because it's so vastly different than what real life is like, but yet so
100%.
similar.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're think about how taxed you are real life, then you jump in this meta space, and it slows down that adrenal system. We're not all, but we're adrenally, you know, beat up from all these experiences through the day. And then what it's doing is it's, you know, regulating our blood pressure. It's slowing our breath down. It's like, okay, this is a different place, right? We're so used to, you know, we know the beginning, middle, and end every day. It gets mind numbing, and no wonder, you know, we're so, you know, stressed out or angry or depressed or anxious, whatever, you know, emotion or behavior you're feeling. But yeah, you're right on there, 100%. It's a dissociation of what we're used to doing.
The
Question,
pacing. Oh, sorry.
is there a feedback loop? I don't imagine you're hooked up to like neurotherapy, or is it like blood pressure and breathing or anything like that you know how you're doing or tracking?
No, so you're ahead of the curve for sure. Right now, it's just it's a headset, right? And then you've got paddles, and you've probably seen the new Vision Pro by Apple. That's been launched, where that's a whole nother echelon of how VR is going. But to answer your question right now, no, there are no biofeedback or metrics yet. That's something we are working on, because that's super important to give you that feedback. So we will be integrating at some point, like basically eye tracking, heart variability, the PRO scales, and then the VR would help kind of leverage those biometrics and test the efficacy of the sanctuary. That's what we call it, right? Where we're getting, hey, how's this breath working? How is this mindfulness working? How is, you know, this CBT or DBT therapy working, right? And then it's measuring, to your point, you know, these biometrics, or these selective biometrics. But yeah, these are all coming for sure. And it's also a multi modality wellness component, in that it works with sleep. It helps with sleep. It helps with addiction. It helps with PTSD, anxiety. So it's got multiple uses. And so yeah, that's where we're at. That's a great question.
I'm wondering if it would be good, Brian, if we should try to share a clip so that people that are here could be able to kind of see what it's like inside.
All right, can you guys see it?
The
There we
Sanctuary
go.
is a
Yeah.
VR therapeutic experience developed with great thought and care alongside clinical experts. We'd like to share some of our vision, starting with what the patient first experiences.
Welcome to the sanctuary. Take a deep breath. Relax. This is your safe space, your sanctuary, to learn and prepare for your upcoming transformational ketamine experience, or TKE. Spend a moment to look around and absorb your surroundings.
So this is the
The
entry
study
point.
is where we learn and discover.
Sorry, do you want me to pause it?
No, go ahead. I was just saying this is just the entry point, but the Beachhead product originally was designed for ketamine therapy, but it's going in, or it's, like I said, it's in sleep studies, it's in ibogaine, it's in addiction. So this is the first place it started, and it's evolving. But here, what we're showing is 3 sections. Is first the study, and the study is where these are psychoeducational components, where it'll give you education about what the module will be about, whether it's about sleep or ketamine or ibogaine or mindfulness or breath work, right? It's giving you a good background of it. Then it'll pan to the fireplace, and that'll show you where the actual activities occur. All right, so we're good.
Yep.
The fireplace is where we will build intention and practice techniques to prepare for your TKE. You are currently at the Overlook. This is where we track progress as we approach the day of your TKE. Before we take our deep dive, I'd like to start with a small activity to make this space your own.
Our first developed curriculum focuses on preparing patients for ketamine therapy who have treatment-resistant depression. However, the foundational elements of the sanctuary allow us to modularly develop other content for any number of therapeutic adjuncts. As you can see here, the overlook is where the patient is given guidance. The study was designed to convey practical and analytical information. For our ketamine curriculum, some of the videos explain the mechanisms and science behind ketamine, as well as practical information they might need to know. Other videos explain the reasoning behind the breathing and mindfulness techniques they'll practice in the study. We do this in an engaging manner that highlights the use of VR. The fireplace transports the patient to an area suited for experiential learning. This is where breathing and mindfulness techniques are practiced. It's also where the patient develops one of the most important aspects of their treatment, their intention. The Sanctuary is a highly adaptable platform for multimodal learning, and we envision broad applications for expansions to address many conditions and therapies. With VR's immersive capabilities and a setting that blocks out distraction, it's a powerful digital therapeutic that can effectively scale to the growing demand for solutions in mental health. Our roadmap includes building experiences that dynamically create personalized treatments for individual patients through use of biosignal data and direct clinician input. FireflyVR, alongside healthcare professionals, are working hard to define the standards of effective mental health care with VR.
That's it.
Just with that little bit of a glimpse into that, does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask about this? To be honest, I wasn't sure what to expect as far as like a VR form of like a therapeutic setting, and it looks fine. I was expecting it to be a little bit more clunky, more polygons or something like that, but I imagine that this is going to be part of just the future of therapeutics. I'm curious as to, I feel like I might have asked this when we initially touched base, but does someone go to a location to have access to this, or is this something that will be available to people as like a service that they could have at home?
Yeah. So initially right now it's all through the healthcare provider or clinic or therapist, because they'll need the physical headset. Right now, the therapist or clinic or facilitator could send the headset home for homework, if you will, right? So that could be a part of their program. But typically this is a great adjunct, therapeutic component to kind of set the stage or table for their patient or client, in getting them started, and then work on the rest of their treatment plan or their homework at home. Initially it's the clinic or the therapist that has the headset.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to kind of imagine what the future would look like as far as therapy, and I'm imagining like people having, able to do and record biofeedback and get involved in like this VR setting and have everything kind of go to their care provider, something like that.
I mean,
is that the intention as far as the path?
I mean, without getting too detailed, that's what they're
they're
looking at is, essentially taking all this data along with AI and the machine learning, establishing a baseline biosignatures, and then it being pinged back to your Apple Watch, right? And then let's say it's also tracking, like, let's say you have some sort of addiction like alcoholism, right? And it's watching or it's tracking you, you know, going a place you shouldn't go, right? Boom, it pings you, and you're in this therapeutic setting, and it's like, okay, I've quelled that craving state of whatever it is, the alcohol, or right. So yeah, that's where this is going to scale to, for sure.
This is, I assume this is like preparatory and maybe integration. They don't do it while they're on the ketamine. It's not a guided thing, is it?
Good question. Good question. No, so this is a preparatory mechanism. And, you know, to Alex's point, as far as the detail of the graphics and immersion there, you know, myself as a psychedelic integration coach, I was skeptical too about, you know, how good it was and how it was in guiding and coaching and setting you up, because I came from the AI space before this, and I had seen VR, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. But when I first experienced this, I was like, wow, this is really powerful. And it's powerful in a way that it sets you up for, if you have no idea what ketamine is, or whatever the treatment plan, it's putting you in a place to just kind of let your guard down. But it's a great coach, it's a great system, and it's not there to distract you from the ketamine treatment. It's to prepare you for it, and get you to you know, same thing we utilize in psychedelics is, how do we prep for this immersive journey, right? And it's all doing the work before, you know. And that's what this does. It's kind of opening you up to, all right, I'm ready for this, you know, kind of could be scary moment for people who don't, you know, don't even can even fathom what their subconscious or being in an altered state is like. So this is all more preparatory and integrative as well, but mostly preparatory.
You know, with neurofeedback or brain waves, there's entrainment. So could this be like a reality entrainment? It just wipes out everything that's around you except for that, and you just kind of go with the flow. Is
Yeah,
that okay?
You know, it's helping with that perceptual shift you're looking to create, you know, from the psychedelic experience. And then, you know, post, it would be used then to kind of help you stay on top of what your goals are, right? It's not just, hey, I'm gonna take ketamine or ibogaine or psilocybin or whatever it is, and I'm good. Now it's like, okay, what are the tools you're going to start to pick up and utilize, right? And so this is kind of like a motivating component in, okay, this is right. It's reinforcing what the therapist has done, or years of therapy that you've gone through. And now it's like, oh, here's this new aha moment, you know, with the use of the ketamine and this experiential therapeutic adjunct experience. Yeah.
When someone comes through for a session of using this VR, how long would they typically get allotted to do the work in there?
Yeah, great question. So this has about 9 hours of content, but no way would you ever sit in there for 9 hours. It would be 15, 30 minutes, maybe 45 at most. But we've had patients, clients in there who felt 15 minutes felt like an hour, because they were like totally separated, you know, and dissociated in a good way of what they were working on. And so it got them to let those barriers down, and you know, visually focus, or not visually focus, but it got them to it got them to just be, right? And I think that's a big thing I kind of utilize in my own psychedelic coaching aspect is how about we stop human doing and just human being, right? And that's what this does. It just gets them to be. And it's a beautiful, beautiful aspect.
That's one of the things that really stood out to me. I spent about 20 minutes in there
Yeah.
and it felt like an hour, but I've had to reflect on that. And it's the pacing that's provided for you. It's moving at a pace that's so slow that it's forcing you to be about as close to the present moment as you've probably been in a long time.
Right.
So it's almost like you're like almost getting into a meditative state, kind of just getting calm enough to be able to think about things. And so I started thinking about like that and all the books I listened to and like how many times it's like 1.5 times speed and 2 times speed. And it's like, maybe we need to be slowing this stuff down to 3/4 speed and really taking time to listen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 That's what I feel like the pacing does. They slow it down so much. You're just like sitting there and you can feel the anxiety kind of rising because you're used to everything moving so much faster. And it's like nothing's moving fast. You just need to be patient.
Yeah. That's a great point, Brian.
Myself and Brian have we'd like to talk about stuff like the hemi-sync meditation that goes off of like frequency following response or entrainment. I'm curious, is there any type of use of like different sound frequencies for like the microphone in place to kind of help soothe people? Is it visual aids to get someone relaxed, or is there also like audio involved as well?
Yeah, so visual and audio, you know, because there's a speaker in the back, and so you're being narrated, or the narrator is there in her, you know, very subtle, slow voice. And then there are sound bowl experiences.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So there's a little of everything, you know, built in it. It can totally be customized and curated based on what you as a therapist or the clinic wants to potentially see. Now, you know, and that's a different kind of build out, but we have the infrastructure to kind of set up, here's your pathway, here are the different components or exercises that you have. And then as you start utilizing with your client base, you'll start thinking, maybe I want to add, you know, a different kind of visual that's, you know, more enlightening or you know, more soothing, whatever it is. But as you start figuring out your population of who you're working with, that can be kind of worked into the platform.
I'm curious as to how many people have had access to this. How many people? I'm not trying to violate any HIPAA anything, but I'm curious as to how many people have experienced this, and have you gotten any feedback from them as far as how they feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We do a lot of work with the VA. We're in 8 different VAs, from VA San Francisco, Durham, San Diego, Little Rock, LA. So lots of feedback with the veteran community. And you know, the biggest thing we've seen or heard is, you know, every patient that comes in the sanctuary loves it and wants more. And patients start recruiting themselves, you know. So it's cool. It's a very neat intervention that gives differentiation to what they're so used to, or what they've been so used to doing, right? And so now they're excited in coming back to therapy or the clinic and getting assistance on their sleep therapy or their addiction or their PTSD. So yeah.
I'm seeing this, and like in my own personal experience, just speaking to therapists that I've, you know, sought after myself, or in the private sector as well as the VA. I feel like it's really dependent on the person sitting across from you, as far as how willing you are to open up. That might just have been myself, but I feel like the tone is also somewhat set by the person sitting across. Seeing this, I feel like it's kind of nice having that factor eliminated with the potential of maybe things not going exactly how you wanted. But also, I'm liking the idea of like the consolidation of information and like the use of AI to kind of help organize everything, because it feels like if this is really effective, that the workload could be a lot larger and not be
Right.
as much of a burden on the therapist kind of implementing it all.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's efficiency, right? So, and more touch points with the patient, you know, so you could set up, you know, boom, here's my hour session. This is what I want to get knocked out. And then once they're out, we can really dig deep into that, you know, that plan. So you're right. It's leveling, it's giving everyone the same access, the same quality, right? Same time, efficiencies, and then boom, your touch point is even greater after that session of being in the VR headset, you know. So yeah, because that's where healthcare needs to go. It has to be way more personalized. You know, right now we you know, the beauty of those that are starting to step into this world, this therapeutic side of VR, recognize that we've been doing this or treating in this disease state, and now this is all about preventative care. And this is a great place to start to kind of change that circle of care that we've had. So yeah, you've nailed it.
It seems like there's going to be a lot of opportunity. And it seems like it's kind of a rough go as far as like where to take things as far as the evolution of this technology, because you know, there's the whole idea of like trauma informed people,
Right.
and so it's like I just imagine in the future, just for kind of critiquing or adjusting some of the experience for the sake of people's trauma. I mean, that might have to do with like different voice actors as far as reading the scripts. So like, would you prefer a man or a woman, or keywords that you want omitted so that it would kind of be a different script to get to the same point? So it seems like there's a lot of work to be done, but it's kind of cool to see how it's at where it's at already. It kind of gives me a little bit of hope to expect something really, really big in the near future as far as this blowing up. You said it's been in like 9 VAs.
Yeah.
If you were to give like just a you know out of the pocket guesstimation of like how many people might have been exposed to this type of experience, do you have anything?
Hundreds.
Hundreds, like 400, 500, something in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Okay, that's yeah.
Yes.
And
It
seems
and this has been over 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
So these are studies that the VA is actually paying for as well, and
that's the key.
Yep. And purchasing headsets. So it's all coming full circle with what they're seeing in how it's being utilized. But what's great is the kind of the environment of VA is changing. There's way more communication. There's way more introspection and looking at new technologies. And so they're sharing, you know, not that they weren't before, but there's a lot more sharing of, hey, check this study out we're doing on sleep. Check this study we're doing in oncology, right? They're utilizing for end of life as well. So, I mean, it has a lot of potentials to be used, not just, you know, one specific healing component or place.
Sure. Yeah. And just as you go, I imagine this is the scope that this is going to be able to be applied towards is just going to widen more and more. Brian or any of the guests, do you guys have anything, questions, comments, concerns?
Have you guys considered integrating EMDR in this setting?
Yeah. I mean, it's on the roadmap, you know. A big part of that is being able to control the client's experience in real time. You know, specifically when the bilateral component starts and stops. So that's the tricky part of it, you know. But there is a mechanism that which is called casting, and that's you, the clinician, seeing what they're doing, right? And so you're not blocked out of the headset. You're on your own, PC or laptop or whatever, and you're seeing what they're doing. So yeah, that's all coming. So you want to be able to have controls over those, whether the vibration is hitting, in their hands. But yeah, that is on the roadmap for FireflyVR is EMDR,
Cool.
for sure. Because it shares those same parallels of like the client prep, targeting specific memories.
It seems like it's almost perfect if you
It's
could
perfect,
just do some
right?
research on like the right amount of timing for each
Yeah.
of the bilateral movements
Yeah.
and just kind of have a protocol set into place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just the kind of clinical, underpinnings of it with how it's installed, the body scan component of it, it has that visual part. Then it's controlling, like we said, that bilateral kind of start-stop component. So yeah, it's there. It's all there, and it's going to work from all parts of those clinical aspects that you want to hit on. From PTSD to anxiety to eating disorders, on and on and on. Right? Trauma, obviously, this is the big place where it started with EMDR, right? But it has different places it'll go.
Well, and just with biofeedback too, that would be so interesting seeing how clients responded to maybe like unconscious factors, and you can like literally watch their brain respond in a way that they're consciously not aware of. I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Sorry, Guy, what'd you
have? So you said 2 to 3 years the VA has been embracing this?
Yeah.
And then before that, how long was the product out? I'm just wondering how long it took them to kind of get on board.
Yeah, the company's been in existence since 2018. So they've slowly been scaling the technology and the commercialization and the research and the clinical development. It's a very comprehensive build that they've put together. And what I mean by that is they've got two really good skill sets. They've got the experiential side, which that's the developers of FireflyVR. They came from Atari, Activision, Google, Facebook, Meta. The main developers of Firefly came from Guitar Hero, one of the most widely popular video game ever, right? So they understand the experiential design component. And then they have the clinical side, which they have a massive clinical team, or a great clinical team, that understands what you as the patient or client needs. From Robert Carhart Harris, he is kind of the leader of neuropsychology, right, and psychiatry, and he was the first to brain map psychedelics, LSD, psilocybin, digitally, so we could see it, and what the affects were. So just a good balance of scientific experts along with build team.
Do you think they're critical mass now that everyone, most of the VA is going to get on board with this? It sounds like with that 8 places.
Yeah, there's a lot of synergy there. There's other companies in the space too. They're doing different things, but and not that one is better than the other, but it's helping. But I think what they'll see is what we're doing at Firefly is a lot more sticky, if that makes sense. Like it's got a resilient program that's all centered around the patient. It's got that ethos behind it. So yeah, it's coming through. It's a slow grind, but it's coming through.
how many other companies that are maybe you guys are the first innovators, but are
Yeah.
comparable, actual players, not just someone's idea?
Yeah, there's a handful out there that are working on it, and there's some that are popping up every day or trying to pop up that have different, components to it. But ours is so clinically based. There aren't that many that are this clinically strong. Not that they aren't good. It's just this has been. That's why the VA really likes it and sees it. And there's a lot of partnerships going into what we're doing in building it. It's like we're taking a lot of feedback from them and saying, oh, this makes sense. Let's try this. So a lot of partnerships that helps us evolve the product even better. So that's why it's kind of been a slow climb, but good questions.
One more. In the last 2 weeks, I heard about a meeting in Denver in September. I don't know if you're aware of that. There was psychedelic and VR. There's very little published on it. There's a woman named Carolyn Clancy, who wrote a little 5-page paper that mentions this. And I thought, oh, great. I really didn't realize they were doing VR. And I thought, oh, video games. But obviously, this is way more involved in that. Did you go, or anyone for your? I meant you're not familiar.
No, did this just happen?
September, I think the 25th through the 27th.
Oh, it's coming up, or it already happened?
It already came up in Denver, and they described like 75 people from the VA and psychedelic researchers. And the two things are VR and MDMA and psilocybin.
Oh,
and yeah.
Was it at the? No, that was in June. I was thinking the MAPS. Because
there's a thing called SOTA, state of the art, and there's about 18 or 19 SOTA lectures that have been noted. And I didn't look at the other ones. The latest one was on nursing, but in November. But they didn't I don't know if they're avoiding this or they just haven't published it. But yeah, I'd like to read something about what happened there.
If you could share that with me, that would be great. I would definitely love to take a more deeper look at that.
I've been calling people at the VA. Where can I get information on this? And haven't really gotten anyone's returned my call. I'd be glad to do that if I find out.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Guy.
The VAs that are taking advantage of using this technology for veterans that are seeking help with their trauma, is it just VAs that are utilizing like ketamine therapy, or is it something that you could have aside from all types of substances and just for the
oh yeah so okay. Like VA Durham is doing a CRETA study. It's like CRETA is it's like a collaborative study of before they want to see how it works, and then they'll jump into it, and the CRETA is like a feeling out study, but they're using our VR for 3 types of utilizing CBT, but using 3 types of sleep issues, from insomnia, nightmare disorder, and PAP acclimatation with studying with the purpose of studying VR as it's to understand why these sleep disorders are occurring. It's not necessarily going to heal it, but it's going to help facilitate what's going on behind this insomnia, behind these nightmares, right? To give more data behind that. We're doing stuff with the DoD in Ukraine and Israel for PTSD and resilience training, and right. So it's got a lot of indications, and then of course, the targeting veterans that have chronic pain, depression, insomnia, substance abuse, TBI. It's all there. Yeah.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah. Regarding which VA locations, are there any in or near Central California?
Oh, just VA San Francisco.
Some said not the Long Beach.
Not Long Beach yet. They're working on it. Well, we've had some discussions, but nothing official. But VA San Diego, it has been very big on the utilization of our technology, but not Long Beach as of yet. No. Yeah.
Thank you. Also, do you have any? They did this with MDMA, maps, but do you have it? I mean, what they did is had a video with permission of an actual patient, and what I imagine in yours is they're looking at the patient, what the patient sees, and maybe a split screen what's actually happening on the outside, looking at the patient. That would be fascinating as an introduction to better understand what does happen. You can select the clips of, obviously. Do you know what I mean?
So you mean, so the patient's in the VR headset.
So yeah, and what I imagine is you have a split screen for viewing of a video to show what your product's doing, and part of the screen is what the patient is seeing through the VR, video of that, and the other is a video at the same time of what is happening from the outside, what they're looking at the patient themselves from the outside, and then what the patient sees. Like I said, those two screens.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of talked about, there's a casting element where you being outside of the VR set could see what they're seeing on your computer. And I don't know if that's what you're asking, but that's been helpful or beneficial in the educational training world, where they've been utilizing VR for years, right? But they utilized it in training sessions of, whether they're learning a new product or a new hazmat thing. And they found that people were learning more when they were watching what the other person was reacting to or learning about. I don't know if that's what you mean, but they do have something called casting. That's what we do have right now.
Yeah, I'm not totally clear on that, but it's for someone like me that can go up to a site and there'll be a video.
Oh, just view it. Yeah.
View is video. I'm looking at a video of the patient with that on.
Right.
That's half the screen. The other half is seeing what the patient is actually seeing through the goggles. And that's just for someone like me or anyone who wants to understand, other than the words, what actually then is happening.
Right.
Examples.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's totally possible and feasible. Have they done it? I mean, no, not yet, but that's something that could be done for sure. Yeah.
I think about this, and I would really like to see it available at the Portland VA. And the reason why my mind goes to that is because Dr. Chris Stauffer in the SNAP lab they're like one of the 3 VA locations in the United States that are doing psilocybin and MDMA therapy just through the VA for PTSD and substance abuse. So I think that would be a really cool collaboration. But then again, I don't know the ins and outs of like the contracts and how that all works. But that's the first place that my mind goes. What do you think, Brian? Do you think that would be?
I do, but what I'm really curious about is when I'm going to be able to go on to the PlayStation or Meta store and buy a copy of Firefly and then download a supplement where I can have Gabor Mate provide me therapy, or like Sam Harris, or maybe get motivated by Jocko Willink or something.
Yeah, that's definitely down the road, because that's a different kind of build, that, and there's a lot of there's a lot of inner workings for that to happen, especially on this content level. But yeah, that that will definitely be on the roadmap for sure down the road.
Because
Yeah.
this seems like it's a way to get clinicians that maybe everyone wouldn't have the potential of working with to work with, rather than just any old clinician. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, like, just, I mean, you're talking about the psychedelic integration stuff. I mean, Gabor Mate and like his Myth of Normal work is
Oh yeah.
incredible.
Oh
I just think about
yeah.
what that would do for so many people, just like in this environment, getting kind of confronted with that kind of truth.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm always mesmerized when he speaks, you know, and just like him just talking, I'm like, he is like VR, you know, he's just like, you're in this meta place. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, that's definitely down the road here. But I like where
Uh,
To play the devil's advocate, are there any cases or people that couldn't handle it? You know, just said, I got to get out of here. It's too, whatever,
I mean,
almost done.
yeah, there aren't really too many contraindications. It's you know, either you know, like you're in there and you're just like, oh, I feel dizzy, and that does happen. People do get dizzy, but then they get settled, you know, or someone could just not get settled and just be uncomfortable. But it's very rare. Like anything, there's no absolute, you know. But for the most part, it's really good for everyone and anyone. Yeah.
yeah, I imagine it was just designed from the very beginning to be, you know, not triggering, and to be just mellow, and, you know, help
Yeah.
people get into a very calm mindset. Speaking of calm mindset, I have to disagree with you, Brian, about the whole Jocko Willink being a good part of therapy, because I feel like if you were to say anything about your trauma, he would just tell you good.
I was switching gears there to motivation, not therapy. If you were looking for somebody to motivate you, you know what I mean? Just because like you can do a lot with the workspace.
Okay, I see that one.
Yeah.
All right. um, would you mind talking to us a little bit about Waves of Valor?
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's, you know, one of the organizations that I work with, in helping veterans heal, and healing in a way that is, um, being mindful of where they're at in present time, in moment, and space, right? So I utilize the water, the ocean, and surfing. And, you know, salt water has this cathartic ability to wash away those emotions of brain fog, or that brain fog, or just that discontent. Because when you're in the water, in the ocean, there's no other place you have to be but right then and there, because what happens? Mother Wave, Mother Earth hits you and you're awake. So there's no place to ruminate, you know, either you know, in the going forward or backwards. So it's all about the same thing I kind of said earlier, is utilizing the ocean, to immerse, veterans and first responders, in a place, because you're there of that ethos of adrenaline, right? That's how, you know, you're constructed, and the ocean recreates that novelty, but it also heals, and takes them out of, that typical confined space, and puts them in a flow state. So, what I do is I utilize either the surfing component or surf therapy as, either, a beginning of before we do any kind of psychedelics or post, or none at all. Like it's just a therapeutic component I've developed over years. Even before I got into the psychedelic space, I'd been helping veterans get in the water just to heal. So that's kind of where that all started, in treating PTSD.
What inspired you to initially to create this?
Yeah, it was, geez, this was probably 15 years ago. And I was a part owner in a surf camp in the Dominican Republic. And I, had brought people out there to surf this beautiful country and place and space. And then I thought, I can do this at home too, and help. And so I wanted to help veterans and first responders. So that's when I kind of jumped into it and, started locally here. I live in South Orange County and worked with a couple organizations and a couple VA members and put together a little program of, hey, can we bring out those that want to get introduced to the ocean and try something different and be in movement, in motion. So yeah, that's kind of where it started. And then it just kind of evolved in attaching myself to different organizations as well, who have a bigger clientele of veterans, and then immerse my program into theirs.
How often do you guys go out?
Yeah, so it'll be 2 to 3 times. Typically, late spring, beginning of summer, and late summer, with the big groups. But then I have my own coaching, business. And then I'll bring my individual clients out, or if they've got friends, and I'll do that as well. So I try and do it all year round, as long as, they want to get in the water. But that's the beauty, is like this, just like doing cold baths. Let's jump in the ocean. This will shock the central nervous system. Will start changing your thought patterns and behaviors, and put you in a different place and time. And the exertion just of being in the water, surfing, paddling, swimming, it helps with sleep because you're tired out. So that's a big component I try to utilize is motion. Motion is a big thing for me, is getting movement, motion. Energy begets energy. Without it, the healing's hard to do. And if you're not sleeping, you're not going to heal either. So that's a big part for what I do with my client base.
I appreciate what you're talking about as far as like the nature of the ocean and keeping you present, and it's funny you're talking about like the cold water shock, and like I wonder what that does to like your stellate ganglions, and like you have these preconceived notions of what danger is, and now you've got like a mouthful and nose full of salt water. It's like it's all different.
It's a whole different
Yeah.
You're right, because now they're not thinking about all the other things, and they got to be there now. And then we talk about after, it's like, what did that feel like? They're like, yeah, I forgot about everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's you. This is a beautiful place. But not only that, just even when I was in the darkest of times, I would avoid going to the ocean because I didn't have, we lose that, our mental fortitude, capacity, fever, love, compassion, all that. But then when I would jump just into the water, not to surf, just to get in the water, that water would drain everything I was, dying inside about. And I was like, my gosh, why did I hold myself back from just being in that water? So it's totally cathartic. It is a beautiful place. And that's why I've always had that compassion or passionate about the ocean, is, as a kid, and then growing up and recognizing we all need this. This isn't something we can live without. So I'm very, very passionate about that part of it. So yeah, you're right.
I love what you're doing. Keep it up.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't heard of this technology. And I mean, connected with maps or anything like that, even though it's not a substance? I mean, this sounds really great. And the word needs to get out, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially
as far as the VR
people
therapy.
People who are afraid of taking this substance, you know, that seems to be this part of the stigma that, oh my God, this will be so horrible. Which,
you're right. I mean, that's I kind of changed my direction, if you will. You know, this space is hard enough to navigate, you know, like you said, like people are like, oh, yeah, I can tell you when let's say I get 10 people, whether they're veterans or first responders or just your regular person, there is this apprehension to it, and they have to want to step into it. So, and I recognize that. So I was like, okay, let's start in a safe place. Let's start in a totally neutral place. And this was a good place to kind of, you know, take down those barriers. And yeah, and you recognize that too. It's like, okay, then as they get into this, they're like, right, yeah, maybe I'll investigate the psychedelic component, right? But at least they're thinking about it as opposed to retracting or they've read something and now it's like, oh, this is a hard thing or a bad thing or a legal thing, right? Whatever it is. But this is a safe place, and that's why I kind of changed my direction on the language and how I can help people with other alternative healing modalities.
you know, it seems like there's a possibility connecting with Heroic Hearts Project. They've sent over 900 people out of the country, and Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions in Texas, the SEALs. I mean,
yes, I'm actually an integration coach with Heroic Hearts. I work for them.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, but I like and I haven't talked to them yet about it. I'm working on it. But yeah, you're right. It's a place that I definitely want to bring them into the fold. But Guy, man, you're awesome.
Well, as long as this is going to be on YouTube, I will tell people I know about this, because like I said, I've been following the you know, the maps part for a long time, but this
Sure.
is a kinder or either easier, smoother way to
Yeah.
immerse yourself in it, maybe.
100%, Guy. You get it. I appreciate it. This is, and yeah, if you could spread it, because like we talked about, it's an easy place to start. And that's all we want people to do is just step into it. And then the rest will kind of unfold, you know? So thank you. I appreciate it.
This will be on YouTube. I'd like to get it finished by the end of the day. Just for people that do see this on YouTube or guests here, if someone was to watch this and wanted to reach out to you, would the best place be doorstodelicminds.com? I could leave a link for that. Sounds good.
My link gets me, but my website is great. That's a great place.
Thank you for everyone that all the guests that decided to join us today. Appreciate you guys for coming through. And Brian Kleindienst, thank you for joining us as well. If you're watching this on YouTube and would like to join us for a future show, I'll leave a link for our meetup page so you could check out our calendar and see what we have coming up as far as our future plans. We don't have anyone, so it's April, May. We don't have any guests planned for our May event, though it seemed like we got a pretty good response from the conversation that we did have. So if you're interested in coming through for that, make sure you set your calendar. And that's really it. We meet on the third Sunday of every month at 11. And with that, have a good weekend, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.